30 in MLS, 28 teams in action, 2 aiming to hit their target by clinching playoff qualification. 3 were on the verge of elimination. First to Toyota Stadium and the side who could secure top seeding in the West.
It's Austin's night, all right.
Dorsey. Fantastic goal!
LAFC's Supporters' Shield charge stumbled in Texas.
Chicho! It was a matter of time.
Were the leaders back on track, or did more misery await in the Lone Star State?
Ferreira scores it for FC Dallas. Velasco, and he's got the fourth tonight for FC Dallas. Velasco Golasso.
Commentary comes from Adam Virgo and Dan Roebuck.
Tafari goes long. Montreal will look to take it down, and he has done. Was he caught on the edge of the area? Now then, what sort of card he's going to come out if that's the last man challenge? Yellow. It will be looked at, obviously.
Well, it's tight. I mean, it's really, really tight. I mean, you're the last player. There's no cover around you, and you're stopping a player shooting.
So, after VAR, it's a red card. Well, back at the ground that he made his reputation at, and he said it's sent off.
In my opinion, that's ended up being the right decision. The minute you give a free kick, you can't give a yellow card for that. You have to give a red card.
Ferreira. Sadio. Good hit! Terrific save! Clepo across brilliantly.
But when you know you get a good save, you get a couple of high fives from your players afterwards.
It's a wonderful ball. Arango, he's in here! What a goal! Something really special from Chicho Arango. The run time to perfection.
Well, talk about a goal against the run of play, but talk about a goal of real quality. I mean, he's onside. Tomasi there plays him, the right back plays him on. I have to say, what a ball that was from Chiellini, by the way, with the outside of his boot. To put that onto a plate there, and just sometimes you need that bit of quality, that bit of class that the number 9's provided.
Oh, that's a little loose. This is Jesus Ferreira. Ariola will go here. It's Ariola! Arrowed into the corner, but the flag eventually goes up. This was close.
I mean, it's going to be tight, very, very tight. But he's done the right thing. And to put that into the back of the net. It's a good finish from there.
Farfan goes down. Escobar claiming that he got the ball. He's already on a yellow. Taken quickly here! Ferreira punishes LAFC! Dallas did not stand on ceremony.
Oh, well played. Switch off for that split second. Don't know what the LAFC players are complaining about. Don't need to wait for the referee to take a quick free kick. It's quick play, it's clever play. It's a frustrating goal to concede, it really is.
Dallas fans believe now. Zabeleng, Nanu, queuing up far post. Oh, inside, outside.
I think it's just outside.
It's knee high, so it's difficult to know exactly where it is in relation to the line of the area. And it curls in. Oh, it's gone straight in. Jesus Ferreira. Clepo loses the flight of the ball, and somehow it nestles in the corner. But what a turnaround here.
We knew that this was going to be a difficult game, but we knew that this was a game that we had to win. Obviously, I give a lot of credit to my teammates because we had the mentality to come out in the second half and take care of business. And so I'm happy and excited that we can send a message to the league that that we're a team that's competing to win the MLS Cup.
Second in the West, Austin's attempt to clinch their post-season place couldn't have got off to a worse start away in Seattle. where Nicolas Ladero showed great composure in teeing up Raul Ruiz to give the home team the lead. With his work on the flank, Jordan Morris was instrumental too in that flowing move, and he continued to be a thorn in Austin's side, racing through to add an assist of his own.
Morris for Ruiz. 2-0!
The Texans had scored in 18 successive matches before their blank day in last week's loss in Nashville. Every reason to think the outcome was far from decided. And before half-time, Julio Cascante was presented with a perfect opportunity to launch a comeback, a chance he somehow spurned. Instead, Austin suffered a third successive defeat, making hard work of the final step into the playoffs. Ruben Gabrielson diverted Javier Arriaga's header into his own net to complete their miserable day, leaving Seattle still hopeful of a late push to climb above the line.
The Portland Timbers were 6 points ahead of Seattle at the start of the week and occupied the last of the 7 playoff spots. Minnesota owned 1-2 and should have also possessed a first-half lead at Providence Park. The sparkling form of Timbers goalkeeper Aliash Ivacic was catching the eye again. And then, just after the hour, the winning goal.
Asprilla flicks it on! And in! When it matters most, the man who always comes through!
3 goals in 4 games for the reliable Dairon Asprilla.
Colorado and Vancouver's prospects of catching the top 7 depend on not putting a foot wrong. So Lalas Abubakar's mistake, seized upon by Brian White, was a huge blow for the Rapids, falling behind inside the first 9 minutes. The first time the Whitecaps had scored in 3 matches, but the uplift was short-lived as Gyasi Zardes moved his season's tally into double figures to give Colorado a fresh start. Coach Robin Fraser was delighted by that response to the early setback, and things got even better when Jonathan Lewis won his race with Ranko Veselinovic. Vancouver weren't convinced the tangle of legs took place inside the box, but the VAR deemed there was no need to use the pitchside monitor, and the rest was up to Diego Rubio. If that contentious call didn't convince the Canadians this simply wasn't their night, there was more evidence after the break. With the Whitecaps pushing hard for an equaliser, Pedro Vita couldn't have gone much closer. 3 straight defeats have all but ended Vancouver's prospects of a playoff breakthrough. Colorado are ever so slightly better off thanks to this crucial win.
Jonathan Lewis gets around his man! Oh my word!
It's a leap, but they'll keep believing.
Numerous permutations could have seen both the Houston Dynamo and Sporting Kansas City eliminated, so this game was always going to have a let-loose feel about it. Eric Tommy's uninhibited early attempt was testament to that. Of course, the problem with an unrestrained attitude is that it can cross the line sometimes. Matias Vera's lunge just before half-time came at a cost to the Dynamo. A second yellow card for the midfielder on a night when his team simply had to win. Unsurprisingly, it opened the game up for the visitors after the break. Ben Sweat's shot struck the angle of the bar before the fullback then teed up a glorious chance for William Agada, and given his form in August, you'd have backed him to take it. Houston had dismissed their coach Paulo Nagamura in the days prior to this, and it was slightly ironic that it was SKC first up, as they were the last MLS team that Nagamura had played for. Kenny Bundy has stepped into the breach, and deep into stoppage time, the 10 men could have given the interim coach an unlikely first win. Thorleiva Ulversson's shot bounced off the bar, and Houston's fate in 2022 was confirmed. No playoff place for the Dynamo.
Wayne Rooney's DC United were also staring elimination in the face. No one seemed more determined to avoid that fate than ex-Real Salt Lake keeper David Ochoa. That full stretch save to thwart his former teammate Pablo Ruiz, typical of his inspired performance at the newly named America First Field. The way Ochoa fell out of favour at RSL was something of a mystery before he moved on in July. He certainly looked like a player with a point to prove, foiling Sergio Cordova shortly before half-time. Starting 6th in the West, the home side fears slipping below the line, and 3 wins in 14 now doesn't breed confidence. Anderson Julio was added to Ochoa's list of frustrated opponents as DC stood firm. But a draw wasn't enough for Rooney's team out of the playoff running in the East.
In another cross-conference matchup, FC Cincinnati knew that their plans to be in the postseason would only pass muster if they could see off one of the West struggling teams.
Inside of the penalty area, Barrio! Cincinnati on the board, late in the half.
And for all of that early San Jose resistance, they then imploded after the restart.
Falls to Brenner, who buries it in the back of the net. The set piece is grilled to perfection.
There's a general feeling that if it weren't for Hani Mukhtar and Sebastian Driussi's extraordinary seasons, there might have been more clamour for Cincinnati's Luciano Acosta to be named 2022's MVP. He won and then scored his team's third with less than 20 minutes to go, an eighth of the season to go with his unrivalled 18 assists. And this wasn't just a night for the regular contributors either.
Yuya Kubo, his first since 2020, and the rout is on in the Queen City.
It was going to be 9 unbeaten for Cincinnati, aided by their number 9.
Brenner, one more. How about a brace for the Brazilian?
How about a hat-trick? With 4 minutes of stoppage time all but up, Sergio Santos had his legs taken away. The Earthquakes had their complaints waved away, and Brenner comprehensively ensured Cincinnati had their largest ever margin of victory in MLS. The lights, meanwhile, are about to go out on San Jose's season.
Right foot. Whoa!
Oh my goodness. No.
How costly would that prove to be in the Galaxy's playoff pursuit?
I didn't plan it. It was my instinct. I did a huge mistake, and I'll take the responsibility.
He's magnificent. He is Mukhtar.
Next, it was Nashville, with their talisman on the goal trail.
I think I play a very good season, so obviously I want to win also the MVP.
Music City's most valuable.
Watching this one, Sam Parkin and Richard Connolly.
This is Victor Vasquez, who can thread a pass. And this is Kevin Cabral, who is not going to be stopped. It was Joe Willis who had to do the stopping. No defender could catch Cabral. There's the threat the Galaxy pose. You've got to think it's Mukhtar, the talisman for Nashville. Mukhtar once more, and the wall jumped. Mukhtar's pretty convinced that there was an arm raised there. It'll certainly be looked at. Now then, there's a flag up too. So it's an LA Galaxy free kick.
Not for me, I don't think. I think it's close enough to his body, maybe for him to get away with it. Definitely strikes the arm.
Penalty is the decision, and the yellow card is going to be shown to Derek Williams for the handball. Jonathan Bond has come close to saving penalties in each of the last 2 games for the Galaxy. But to the chance of MVP, it's Mukhtar. And he delivers yet again.
Well, everything's just going for him at the moment. Dispatched with pace. One going off in the other direction. Probably doesn't get there if he goes the right way. And Mukhtar up and running once more this evening.
This is Victor Vasquez, and Chicharito was coming in, and he was bundled to the floor, and it's a penalty.
It's brilliant football. I don't think the necessity is probably there for the contact to be made by Moore. What a big moment this is now, given what's gone on the last week or so.
Lot of pressure on the shoulders here of Chicharito. Is he up to it? Oh, it's a brilliant save! Joe Willis! And it's 2 in a row for Chicharito that have been kept out. Puig forward, Douglas Costa trying to get involved. Wants to try and make something happen. Jovalic has been begging for it in defeat in the D, but can't seem to get it. Puig's pass, now Jovalic has got it. Away from Zimmerman. An appeal for a handball in there from the Galaxy. The referee hasn't given it initially. Chicharito involved. They will look at it.
Yeah, Zimmerman involved again. I think he got a really good footing initially, and the strike, it did seem to strike the arm.
Is there a twist in the drama? There certainly is. And Zimmerman will be sent off for this. It's a second yellow card. I mean, he was 1.5 meters from the shot from Chicharito. It's Ricky Puig. Oh, Willis got there, but he couldn't keep it out. And the LA Galaxy will leave with a point from Nashville.
He's there, Willis, isn't he? He's there. He just gets a little bit beyond where the ball goes. Oh, he'll be so disappointed he hasn't saved that one as well.
Question marks over 3 penalties. You know, 2 for them, and obviously the 1 for us. In the end, though, I think we'll find out in 3 games' time whether it was a point gained or 2 lost.
Over in the East, CF Montreal knew a point would guarantee their participation in the postseason, and the Columbus Crew would have been far closer to confirming their place too, if only they'd turned at least some of their multiple draws recently into maximum returns. Jonathan Mensah's well-guided header after the hour might have been the inspiration that the Crew needed. And when Lucas Zelarayan lashed in at the second attempt, just a couple of minutes later, this was, in coach Caleb Porter's words, as well as his team had played in any game all year. The added layer of intrigue to this one, though, was that Montreal were actually the last team to beat Columbus, and they did it with 2 very late goals last month. Throwing away leads had become an unwanted forte of the Crews, but surely not here. Well, maybe, because Luis Diaz's foolish kick-out at Kai Kamara was seen by video review and meant his team had to play 14 minutes plus stoppage time with 10 men. They were still 2-0 up in the 89th minute when Victor Wanyama's quick thinking helped guide the ball beyond Aloy Room. And the Crew just knew what was coming. Zachary Bro-Giar's equaliser was fortunate, but it isn't just luck that's evading Columbus, it's crucial points too. And that one for Montreal has them into the playoffs.
Philadelphia had long since booked their playoff place, but the Union are as hungry as ever. A huge deflection off João Moutinho got them up and running against what on paper was a dangerous Orlando City side. A rapid return to earth for the Florida club, who landed the US Open Cup in midweek, their first ever silverware. Their prolific hosts continued to take the shine off that success.
Michael Lewis scored in 3 consecutive games.
Few can shackle Philadelphia in this mood. No let-up after the break. When Uas seized upon Mason Steiderha's fumble, there was more trouble in store for Oscar Pereira's team. The penalty, a heavy price to pay for the goalkeeper's mistake, and it was Daniel Gazdag set to cash in with a club record in his sights. The first Union player ever to score in 5 consecutive matches. It's clear how keen Jim Curtin's men are to collect the supporters' shield for the second time in 3 years, an achievement that would underline their ability. Alejandro Bedoya made them just the second team in MLS history to score at least 4 goals in 5 successive home matches. Orlando's only respite was provided by Andres Pereira, finally on an MLS score sheet for the first time in 2022. But overall, this yet again was a Philadelphia finishing masterclass, rounded off by a central defender.
Jack Elliott's there. It's a 5 spot. Elliott has had a masterful evening and deserves a goal tonight.
It was the Union who ended the New York Red Bulls' 4-game unbeaten run last week, and they were behind again at home to New England.
McNamara buries it. Tommy McNamara, the West Nyack, New York native.
And the same player who'd sealed a win against NYCFC only last week. But the Revs' advantage in Harrison lasted nearly 5 minutes.
Christian Cáceres Jr. with a chance. Tie game.
The Venezuelan hadn't scored since April. But the game's defining moment came in the last quarter of an hour. Keep an eye on that previously mentioned New York native. Tommy McNamara clearly thought that you could get away with anything when you're back home. It turns out you can't. Video review alerted the referee to a pull on Lewis Morgan's shirt, which was less subtle when seen again on a replay. And the Scot scored his 6th penalty of the season to win the game. The Red Bulls have got their spark back.
It was at Red Bull Arena last month that Charlotte beat New York City FC. And Adil Malanda supplied the first indication this would be another difficult day for the playoff contenders, whose form has collapsed. 1 win in 9 for NYCFC included 6 defeats. Another was coming.
Now Shudarsky curling one in, there's a header! It's corner pocket! It's Danny Rios!
Since beating NYCFC, Charlotte had just lost 3 in a row. You wouldn't have guessed. Kamo Jozwiak was inches from extending the lead as the players responded to the demands of their interim coach, Christian Latancio. He wanted them to be quicker, sharper and more aggressive. A call Christian Fuchs perhaps took too literally, leaving Tavon Gray flat out. His distress was caused by a flailing elbow, more obvious in the video review. Fuchs' initial yellow card was upgraded to red, leaving Charlotte a man light for the final third of the match. Yet NYCFC still couldn't capitalise, no end to their recent decline.
Here's a game that epitomised the scramble to be in the postseason. Chicago and Inter Miami were both outside the top 7, though the gap that Ezra Hendrickson's team needed to make up was at 7 points before the weekend had even begun. But the Fire's first half dominance had a reward, and with the sort of headed goal you'd show to any aspiring young striker, the fact that John Duran is still only 18 made it even more impressive. And he's no doubt inheriting some finishing prowess from a teammate who's done it for years.
It falls for Shaqiri! The Swiss international back onto the score sheet!
Xherdan Shaqiri's first goal since late July made it 2-0 to Chicago. Miami had lost their last 2, having won 2 prior to that, a microcosm of their season, you could say. A penalty in the final 15 minutes gave them some optimism, as Gonzalo Higuain rolled his tally of goals into double figures for the season. But by full-time at SeatGeek Stadium, they weren't talking about Higuain, Shaqiri or any other proven talent, only speculating about how good a certain young Colombian could be.
Duran, all by himself, and the Colombian puts this one to bed. It's a brace for the 18-year-old and 3 points in the back for Chicago.
Our final match is certainly worth the wait. Utterly enthralling from the moment Atlanta's Brooks Lennon had his legs whipped away by Shane O'Neill. Starting for the first time since mid-July, Toronto goalkeeper Quentin Westberg went head-to-head with Luis Araujo and won the battle. A miss it seemed Atlanta could ill afford, having suspended their top scorer Joseph Martinez following a dressing room altercation last week. Federico Bernardeschi ramped up their anxiety by winning a penalty. But following video review, the referee changed his decision despite the apparent handball. There were even more talking points after the break.
That's a header, Purata!
Juanjo Purata's opener just the beginning of an astonishing half for the defender, who soon got back to the most important part of the job, but couldn't prevent Ayo Akinola from cancelling out the opener. Never mind, because 10 minutes later, another Atlanta corner offered Purata the chance to make his mark once more.
Header! Score! It's Purata again!
The first time in his entire career the Mexican had netted more than once in a match. Almost immediately back came Toronto, and no prizes for guessing who was in the thick of the action. Purata's trip on Jesus Jimenez handed Bernardeschi the chance to square the scoreline again. 2-2. It was exactly 5 years since Atlanta's first ever game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The crowd can't have witnessed many matches this unpredictable.
Thiago Almada. Golazo!
The lead restored in spectacular style before Purata produced a remarkable finale by earning himself the match ball.
And it's a hat-trick for Air Force One!
So that win moves Atlanta up to 10th in the East and also means Toronto's playoff hopes are all but over. The only team below them, DC United, are eliminated, but second-place Montreal have secured postseason participation.
Austin will have to wait a little longer in the West after their defeat to Seattle. Portland climbed 2 spots to 5th to improve their own prospects. It is, though, the end of the road for the Houston Dynamo.
3 was the magic number this week. Montreal, the 3rd team into the postseason party, and trebles from a regular provider.
Brenner to the spot, making a hat-trick!
And an unlikely source.
And it's a hat-trick for Air Force One!
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.